Hello, everybody. This is episode 102 of the CEO Coaching Series. Last week, we had discussed about CEO coaching and its importance and how it can handle some of the key challenges that a CEO coach can help the executive team to handle. Some of these challenges that we had discussed included how to enhance effectiveness of the senior management team, how to improve the corporate brand and employee value propositions to attract or retain top talent, create culture of innovation by promoting and rewarding entrepreneurship and risk-taking, develop a more outward-looking customer-centric culture, improve our organization's agility, flexibility, seek better alignment between strategy, objectives, and organizational capabilities. We will continue in this episode by starting off with the question, why is it essential to align the L&D strategy with the overall business strategy? The business strategy determines the way forward for the company. An important part of that is identifying skill gaps and filling them so that the teams, especially the leadership team, are ready for the challenges ahead. This is the responsibility of the Chief Learning Officer, if there is one, or the CHRO. In PricewaterhouseCoopers 2017 Global CEO Survey, roughly 75% of the respondents ranked availability of key skills as a top concern affecting the organization's growth prospects. This is where you come in. You can take charge and improve your organization's growth prospects. Since continuous learning is not only important for the company and its employees to stay relevant, but also increases employee engagement and employee value propositions, as we saw in the previous episode. It makes sense to invest in it. However, the L&D strategy cannot be completely relevant and aligned if it is not discussed as a part of the overall business strategy. In this day and age, where required skills for success change so frequently, it is absolutely essential that employees stay up to date. No organization can afford to fall behind. In order to be optimally prepared for strategy discussions, it is essential to understand how and where the interests and concerns of the C-suite and L&D overlap. Let's try to understand this by beginning to understand a universal language that aligns learning with the C-suite and help us understanding its overlap with the HR department. Some of the common KPIs or the key performance indicators that the C-suite executives are concerned about are NPI, NPS, EBIT, churn rate, cycle times, defect rates, time to market, sales revenue, and turnover cost. On the other hand, the common KPIs or key performance indicators of the learning and development in the HR, they're more concerned about effective onboarding, adoption rates, qualitative stories, time to competence, employee engagement and motivation, employee satisfaction rates, and certification rates. When you take these two areas and you converge them, there are certain KPIs that form the common ground, and those are employee proficiency, retention rate, improved quality of hire, the culture, reduced skill gaps, cost savings, and competitive disruptions. Now, to understand these KPIs and to use them in a better way, the first step is to start measuring them. It might be difficult to figure out which data to collect and how to best do it at first. The important thing to do is to start somewhere. Do some research, talk to finance and IT. They have a lot of experience with gathering data from different angles. Get their insights and perspectives. Find out what you could measure that would be relevant and interesting, and what data is possible to gather with your existing systems. Some of the other data that might help you that you may want to track include employee retention and average duration of employment, quality of employee hires and cost of bad hires, team productivity before and after intervention, and reduction in skill gaps. The more data you have, the better you can make your point. Try to get a mix of qualitative and quantitative feedback or data. Storytelling is also an important aspect of negotiation, so make sure that you have the anecdotal evidence and example stories ready to spice up the data and make it more memorable. Remember, the key question you always have to answer is, why should they care? How will the coaching make them look better? How will it benefit the organization? How will it increase productivity? How will it reduce turnover or other costs? Always make the connection to the bottom line very clear. Finally, use impressive examples and memorable stories. Draw them in by making a strong point. Let's study a couple of case studies. Ajay, the Chief Learning Officer of a multinational company, was getting frustrated with his inability to determine whether his L&D strategy was actually having the intended effect. So he started talking first to his mentor and then to several colleagues in IT and finance, trying to understand what data he might get access to. Then he brought the issue up with his coach. As a result of that coaching session, he made an appointment with the CEO to convince her that he should be more involved in strategic decisions and in other discussions. So he went into the CEO's office and made the following arguments. His peers from the C-suite have approached him for leadership development, but he's not sure what would be most useful, as he needs better understand which direction the company is heading in first. He wants to measure relevant data and has already made a start, but again needs to understand more about where the company is headed to choose the most relevant metrics. For example, is it more important for employees to become more and more specialized, or is it more important for them to be flexible so that they can be transferred laterally? Building and maintaining a corporate culture that is sustainable and gives the employees the kind of employee value proposition they're looking for is a collaborative effort that needs to include the CLO, as LD, leadership development, and OD, organizational development, are the two main tools to shape culture. Finally, the trends in LD and OD might also help the rest of the C-suite to foresee trends and be better prepared for the future. When the CEO questioned him about the first point, saying that it is his job to know what kind of intervention would be most appropriate, he explained that because the process of choosing, hiring, and getting started with a coach takes a few weeks, if not months, at least the effects won't be visible immediately. We need to look for the measures that will uh, coach or train people for what they need in 6 to 12 months' time. Then we don't want what they have just learned to become redundant too soon. So we try to look at least 2 years into the future before booking any leadership development measures. The CEO thanked him for his foresight and entrepreneurial thinking. She commended him for going beyond the day to day and thinking about what is best for the company overall. Then she invited him to participate in the next strategy meeting. Let's take another case study. Dimple is the HR at an SME that provides business services. The leadership team at her company comprises 3 people: the CEO, the COO, and the CFO. Naturally, there is a lot of responsibility resting on these 3 people's shoulders. One day, the COO comes to her and asks whether she has any good executive coaches in her network and whether there was a budget for LD that he could tap into to get some coaching. Dimple does know a few executive coaches but doesn't have a set budget for LD. Since the company is still small and Dimple reports directly to the CEO, it is deemed easy enough to just approve budgets as needed. The COO, who is somewhat of a mentor for Amrita, recommends that she should get an annual budget for LD and TD, talent development. He argues that the process for creating the budget and then working within it are valuable learning experiences and will help her hone her strategic skills. Moreover, once the company grows to a certain level, she would have to develop those skills anyway, so it is better to do them right now while things are still manageable. So Dimple gets started on the research. She finds out how other SMEs handle this issue, what information she needs to create a LD strategy, and where she might get this information and whom she should involve in creating it. Then she looks into budgeting. She makes a rough draft of a spreadsheet that she may use to create a budget and then goes to the CFO with it to get a little advice on how to best do this. Once she feels a bit more clued up, she approaches the CEO. She explains to him why a L&D strategy and budget are a good idea, what benefits they will have for the company, and how much time it'll save in the long run. The CEO agrees that it's a good idea and asks her to start working on it right away. He asks her to put together a strategy and a budget for the upcoming quarter. Encouraged by the positive response, Amrita also brings up the COO's request and her proposed solution for it. The CEO's first reaction is to dismiss this. He responds, "Doesn't Kamal know what he's doing? He doesn't need coaching. He is doing fine the way he is." Dimple is ready for this argument. She explains to him that since the company is planning to expand, Kamal will need a different skill set in the near future, so it makes more sense to get him a coach now and prepare him rather than wait until he hits a wall. The CEO concedes that is true. However, isn't there a training course that he can do on the weekend? We really need him at his desk during the week, he says. Again, Dimple is ready. She shows him a study that lists some of the expected benefits of executive coaching. Respondents said that executive coaching helped them to manage complex organizational change more effectively and with greater confidence, identify stakeholders' issues earlier, minimize the impact on the organization, boost their effectiveness, inspire and empower higher level of performance than others. These improvements, she argues, will more than make up for a little time lost at the desk each week. Finally, the CEO agrees to give it a try. He approves 5 coaching sessions for now. Then they will evaluate progress before booking more sessions. Dimple is happy about the outcome of the meeting, but knows that this is only the beginning. Now she will have to create a convincing strategy and a realistic budget for Q2, find an amazing executive coach, and identify metrics to measure the ROI of the coaching. In her mind, she puts together a list of advisors whom she can turn to for advice. The first step, however, is research. Back to the computer she goes. Hello again, Uncle Google. To conclude this session, executive coaching is an individualized process that helps leaders fill the skill gaps they currently have, and if used effectively, even the ones they don't yet know they have. Most leaders want executive coaching as they feel lonely at the top, and of those who have experienced it, the overwhelming majority, 95%, rated it as effective. The ripple effect of great executive coaching includes outcomes such as improvement in employee engagement, reduction of employee turnover, as well as enhanced conflicts and problem-solving skills of the respective leaders. In this global world, leaders are not only competing with the local market, they are competing in the global economy, especially when it comes to well-paid positions with significant responsibility. That is why leadership skills need to meet international standards comparable to leaders who have often received hundreds of hours of mentoring and coaching in the course of their careers. Finally, since the company's employee value proposition is one of the main attractors for top talent, the leadership really needs to ensure that they can offer an extraordinary employee value proposition, or EVP. To tackle this issue, its methodology has to focus on building capability and enhancing confidence. The nature of leadership is changing now, and we are in the knowledge economy, and thus the nature of leadership development has changed too. As L&D professionals, it is our job to foresee the skills great leaders will need to have in the future, and to ensure that leadership teams in our care are ahead of the curve. Thereby, L&D professionals are working to allay one of the main concerns CEOs have regarding their growth prospects, the availability of key skills. That is one of the reasons why it is essential to align L&D strategy and overall growth strategy to ensure the organization is ready for the future. Other reasons include the value add the CLO can bring to the discussion and their future of leadership, and the better collaboration between departments to achieve the common goal of business growth together. This concludes today's session. Hope you all are having a great weekend. This is Ron, wishing you a happy, prosperous, and profitable week ahead.